I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Bob Dylan.
Tangled Up in Blue.
And I don't know what we're going to do with this song because it's going to get blocked. Because all Bob Dylan things get blocked. So, I don't know. Maybe we're going to try something different and cut it up every 30 seconds. Or should we just do what we normally do?
Well, I don't know if it's every 30 seconds that works. And how long do you have to have it broken up for? I don't know enough of the details.
Yeah, it's true. We don't do that. Look, because we do the song front to back without interrupting, you're more likely to get flagged, and then the record label then takes all your monetization, which is fine because that's why we have Patreon. But what ends up happening on top of that is that some record labels will block the song, and that's what happens literally every time we do Bob Dylan. So
even if we're not using official videos, so it's, kind of weird.
Yeah, so I don't really know. But you're right. There are some record labels that are so crazy that they'll, even if you...
What they can hear through our headphones.
What they can hear through your headphones.
Yeah.
It'll take everything.
Yeah,
so
pretty wild. Anyway,
it's their content. They can do what they want with it. Just to me, it's kind of like, seems very counterproductive. Like,
well, I think it's like you
want
say,
more and more people having access to Bob Dylan. I mean, the dude's a pretty old guy.
Yeah, it brings awareness. It brings people to see. Oh yeah, who is this guy? What is this?
Yeah,
it's actually good for them. But I think that like you say, some people they're not up with the times yet, and they haven't modernized in their thinking.
Yeah.
So they're like, what? You're trying to, whatever.
Yeah, record labels. Yeah.
But anyway, so Daniel picked up for us to do this song. I'm
pretty certain that the record labels lose more money than they gain by doing that.
Oh, probably. I would say so. He said this is the song that made him fall in love with Bob Dylan's music. So.
Okay, now I really want to hear it. Bob Dylan's one of these guys that's he's not known for his voice, his vocal range, but lyrically, this guy is Danny Filth level smart with his lyrics, which I love. If you, dear listener, would like your song reviewed, 125 at a gate gets you straight to the head of the line. Although with Daniel, he's done it at least 3 times. That pushes you down to the $75 rate, which is where he's at. And so that's how you do it. If you don't want to spend $125 and you want to work in a community, that's what I love to do. $1 at the gate gets you a Patreon, and you're able to listen to it from there. Because you can pull your points together and make that happen. Tangled Up in Blue, Bob Dylan. Let's go.
Here we go. thing. He doesn't have choruses.
Yeah,
It's not like a designated chorus. It just goes through the.
Yeah, just lyrics straight up.
Yep.
I don't know what that is. Is that folk? What is it?
Oh, I don't know.
And he tells stories. Mm-hmm. And this one,
I like it.
This
like
one was an
stories.
interesting one.
So basically, he met this girl. He liked her, and she was married, but she was going to be soon divorced. So it says he
helped
along a
he
little
helped
bit?
her out of her jam.
Yeah.
I helped her out of her jam. Used
then
too
he
much
was
force. We drove that car as fast as we could, abandoned it. Like, yeah, they just like.
And then
I
they
think he
took off.
overreacted. Like they didn't need to like go to a different coast. See what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he abandoned it out west, and then here he's heading out for the east coast in verse 1, and then but in verse 2 he went out west. So they're going all over the place. Like that wasn't necessary, bro. You know what I'm saying? Unless some dudes had some gangsters with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Bob Dylan would have some gangsters with him too. Like Bob Dylan looks like a gangster to me.
Really?
Yeah, like I feel like that's a guy like you probably shouldn't like underestimate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would not underestimate Bob Dylan. I feel like Bob Dylan has probably had more gangster in him than
Yeah,
a lot of
you
the
could be
rappers I used to listen to. Like
Could
he
be right.
kind of like carries that type of energy. Like look at him, look.
Yeah,
look
I know.
at
I'm
that.
looking at that picture.
Yeah, like that's not a guy. That looks like one of them bad dudes from the old west.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he's
Leave
gonna
that
go
man
and
alone.
Put 9 in you. Early one morning, the sun was shining. I was laying in my bed, wondering if she'd changed at all, if her hair was still red. Her folks said our lives together was sure going to be tough. They never did like Mama's homemade dress. Papa's paying book wasn't big enough. So he's like the typical dude from the wrong side of the track. And his mama's dress was homemade because she could not afford. And the dad didn't bring enough money. I was actually... There's this woman. Her name is Tara Sense. She's this black lady that is really... Like, if Zoe was really like seriously into relationships, I would have Zoe watch Tara Sense's channel because like it's biblical worldview, but she's black and there's just a lot of really cool cultural nuance things but she posted something about this dude was talking about how he fell in love with this girl and they were going to get married. He's going to propose to her. And then she never told him, but her entire family, they were like quadrillionaires. Like she was mega rich. So he broke up with her because he said, you know, she would be marrying basically lower than her class. And if I loved her, I would want her to live at the level that she was, you know, accustomed to. Like I'm not somebody she could.
He's not going to be able to provide that for her.
I'm not somebody she could build with, right? Because
that is so sad.
Their like her whole mentality is about building. Like they've got a very like utilitarian understanding of relationships.
Wow. So this woman that you would have her listen to, would that happen to her?
No. She told the story. She told the story and said, "What do you guys think about this?"
That's so sad.
Because she's very big on like trying to get the emotions out of being like the primary factor in a relationship. Like that's like one of her big things. Is like just listen to Tara. You know, Torah was the Bible basically. And, you know, forget your emotions. Like, your emotions are important, but they should not be definitive of what guides a relationship. So she was bringing that up because if you hold to that principle, then... Because her big thing is build. It's like, and, you know, honestly, like, that's one of the major things in our relationship is that we build. You know, like, there's a lot of forward thinking. There's a lot of multi-generational thought processes. Whether it's homeschool or whether it's doing this or whether it's the other deals that I'm trying to close, like we're thinking from the context of building something. So, you know,
shoes in our basement.
20 years down the line, like, you know, like we're not going to be in the same place. And I don't even mean like we're not even going to be in the same place next year as in like the place, but financially we're going to be X, Y, and Z, and generationally and legacy-wise, yada, yada, yada. So that was her whole shtick. So if you look at it from that worldview, like I get it. Like I still don't agree with it. Like I don't agree with that at all. Like if we were like a multi-trillion-dollar family or whatever, and she did a very good job of hiding it. Like, he didn't know until he proposed that she, when she said, okay, meet my family, because she didn't bring him around her family or anything like that until he proposed and was like committed to her. And they roll up in this freaking mansion with 58 cars and thing. And I guess like everybody was nice to him. Everybody was good to him. They weren't doing this whole like, you know, you're a low class blah. They weren't doing that, but he was like, he broke it up with her like the next day.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was so much like, it's tough to say in a call like that, like if he was doing it for her, or if he was doing it for himself. Like,
yeah,
he might have been doing it out of his own pride because he was like, I can't provide for her what she's been used to, and so he didn't want to feel to himself like a low-class citizen.
No, it's true, because like, you know, covering the meal or whatever, you know, like, you know, like you get stuck in these, you know, and I believe like the man should cover the meal. Like if you're going on a date, like Dorian better not come home and tell me that the girl covered like what the hell?
Yeah.
So like he's covering all the meals or whatever, like doing his thing as a man, but she's a quadrillionaire.
I know, yeah.
Like, first of all, she's going down as to where she's normally accustomed to eating. She's used to eating at some Michelin 5-star restaurant, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where the sous chef knows her by name, and you know, he took her to Olive Garden and he saved up like half a. So you're right. I didn't really think about that. I didn't really think about the implications of like. This is where Peter's gonna say, "See, your gender roles is fucking you up," because now it's like, well, wait a second, you know, like, why do you care that she, you know, and it's true, like that's your male ego, like you shouldn't feel bad that, you know, you took her to the Olive Garden, but her whole life she's at the Michelin restaurant, like, you know, you shouldn't care about that. Like if you're covering it, you're doing your duty. What's the problem? But I do know a lot of dudes who would have like a serious problem with that.
Yeah, and I can understand, but at the same time, if you've already fallen in love with somebody, I don't understand how you can just throw that to the side. Like, that to me is crazy.
I did a ton
You're literally about to get married?
Yeah. I did a ton of thinking about that situation, and what I would have done is I would have said, okay, we're going to have to hold off on this marriage thing. But what I would do is I'd go to the father and I'd say, let me intern somewhere with y'all. Let me intern and, you know, let me grind and let me earn my way into this empire and carve out a piece for myself, and then I'll go marry your daughter. That's what I would do.
Oh, my word.
But I wouldn't, you know.
I would have hated that. I don't want to wait.
I know you would have hated that, but there's a lot of things y'all don't understand
and
sometimes.
Secondly, you're a particular person that could say, you know, let me intern and do that. Some people, they're not very smart.
Yeah, but I mean, especially, you know, now that we've cracked into a certain like bracket, you know, financially, like I don't really think that it's about smarts as much as it's about your work ethic. You know, like I'm doing things other people aren't going to. If you create a lifestyle where you're willing to do things that other people are not willing to do consistently, you 9 times out of 10 you're going to be okay. But you know, the people who want to clock out, you know, want to clock in exactly at 9 and clock out exactly at 5 and don't want to work, like I'm working with people like that right now, and I'm like, you know, when it comes time for X and Y Z thing to happen, they're not getting a call from me because like you're out exactly at 5 o'clock. People are like, well, I have a work-life balance. Good, great. So when it's time to go here, you're not coming with me because you're not trying to work. You're trying to get out exactly at 5 o'clock. And I got like a million things that are like, literally, because Shorty couldn't work for an extra half an hour, I literally have to wait 2 more days into Monday to get shit done that should have been done last week.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of moving. I'm like literally dealing with I mean, you know what's happening, how many plates I'm spinning right now, and Shorty couldn't, you know, like, you're not paying me past blah, 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 blah. It's like, all right, cool. So I don't really think that, you know, and like when it's time to go where we need to go, like she's not coming with us at all. So to me, it's like, you know, the people that are talking to me at 9, 10 o'clock at night, you know, when I need something or whatever, or I need this document or whatever, and they like respond to me in 3 minutes or less, like those people are coming. the person who's out at 5 o'clock, all right, cool, stay where you are. So for me, like, I would have no problem. I would go up to the dad, because she said that the parents were great to the guy or whatever, and they, you know, because their whole family thing was, don't tell anybody how, you know, where we actually are until they make that commitment to you. So there's no sex, none of that stuff. So like that was like their whole spiel.
Yeah, because they don't want to be stuck in a situation where someone just wants to be with them because of that.
Right, and they want their sons and their daughters to know that they're loved because of them and not for what they have. Yeah. So like I would be able to say, okay, I'm going to overlook that, because a person could read into that, oh my God, you didn't tell me, what else are you not telling me, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I'd be like, all right, cool, I understand. Don't ever do that again, but I get it. If we're going to be married, but like, I wouldn't marry you as a, even making what even what we have now, like, if that was the situation, I would go to and say, all right, let me intern, let me apprentice with you, and maybe in a year or two or 9, I'll be ready to marry your daughter. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's what Jacob did, right?
I know.
Jacob did it for 7 years, and
then
he
look
loved
what
her.
happened
He
to
loved
him.
her so much that the 7 years were like
Didn't
7
say
days.
what it was like for her.
It doesn't matter. I mean, she was there.
Doesn't matter.
Because she saw him every day. Like, if I was interning with your family empire, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'd see me every day. You'd see me every day. Like, I'm cool with that. It just, you know, other stuff wouldn't happen, but that's okay. It can wait. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? So that's gonna be there. You know what I'm saying, when you get married. But that's what I would have done. But the guy like completely broke it off with her and like whatever. And I think you're right. I think that more has to do with his own ego being hit. Because why not just go up to the guy and say, all right, let me intern with you. Like, problem solved. Because then the dad would have been like, oh, can you imagine being a dad and like some dude says, you know what, right now I'm not worthy of marrying your daughter right now because of this situation. But I'm going to put that on pause. I'm going to intern with you to where I can be part of this family and actually build something with her.
Totally disagree with you. And I think...
But how do you think the dad would have responded to that?
Oh, I'm sure the dad would be great.
The dad would have been like, holy shit.
Yeah, that's
okay,
cool.
all right.
But no way. If that was the situation and it was our daughters and they fell in love with somebody and he was a great guy and blah, 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 they wanted to get married and I knew that she was going to have to live less than what she was used to, that's not bad for her.
No, it's not about living less. It's about not being able to build. When you have wealth...
if I was the dad... I would make that available to my future son-in-law immediately.
Make what available?
If I had some sort of a business that could make it so that way he could be making more and start building, I would do that.
Yeah, but what do you mean you would do that? You would just give it to the guy? The guy is saying, I'm out because I can't build with you. That's what he's saying. And
that is such an annoying situation.
What I'm saying is that if I was a father, because look, wealth doesn't just unless you win the lottery, wealth doesn't just happen. Wealth gets accumulated and passed on from generation to generation. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at that type of situation, you're coming into that situation with a family who's built. And you have nothing to contribute to that building. So what I'm saying is the guy goes and says, hey, let me intern with you guys. Let me do whatever so that I can actually build and do something with this family instead of being somebody who just randomly lucked out and proposed to a very rich young girl. If I as a father heard that, like if Zoe brought some dude, like let's say, you know, in 10, 15 years from now, we're going to be okay. We're going to be really okay. And I don't want the kids, you know, even now when we're not anywhere close to where we're going to be, you know, I don't tell the kids how much money we make because they're, you know, doing all this nonsense. So, like, you're trying to tell me if some dude, like, he didn't know, we lived in a modest house, like, we lived in a decent neighborhood, but basically modern house beneath what we could get, right? Mm-hmm. Then the dude figures out what we're about. And understands like what we're doing, and they've got like, holy shit, these people have like 9 businesses going simultaneously. Like, if he were to say, look man, I've got a high school education and I work at McDonald's right now. Like, and if he were to say to you, I love your daughter to death, but I can't do this in good conscience. I can't have her coming from this to moving in my 1-bedroom apartment. So here's the deal. Give me 4 years. I'll intern with you. You know, let me prove myself. Let me go somewhere in this business. Let me do something. Like, you kidding me?
Why can't he do that?
If I had a dude,
she lives in the apartment
if
with
I
him.
if I had a dude right now, let's say fast forward, and he said, "Yo, let me clear out all that stock. Like, you guys just bought up you guys just bought up all the Payless on the East Coast. Let me move all this shit. I don't even want anything. Just the experience of being able to do it and how to work Amazon. Like, give that shit to me." If he did that shit, I would be like, you know what, bro? Okay, I'm with that. I'd be like, yo, Zoe, that's a keeper, right? But if he rolled up, you wouldn't feel uncomfortable at all. Like, the dude just rolls up, they're in love. Sure, he didn't know that, you know, you had a little bit of money, and then he finds out you have a little bit of money. He goes, hey, we rich, hey, at a party, and he's just completely fine with absorbing all of that wealth that he didn't earn. Like, that wouldn't bother you at all?
What do you mean absorbing that wealth?
Well, now he's part of the family if he gets married. You know what I'm saying? So obviously he knows he's going to get a slice of the pie, right? So, like, that wouldn't bother you that he'd be completely fine with being able to eat off of that he didn't earn? As a man, like, that wouldn't bother you. See what I'm saying? It's not that simple. But if he said, you know what? Sorry, I know you love Selah, but, like, I love her to death, but I've got to be able to be part of one of these 9 businesses. Like, I gotta be able to work and do that so that I can build with your daughter, because I'm not out here just trying to eat off of your husband's success. As a man, I can't do that. If he said that to you, you'd have a problem with him?
Well, that's pretty respectable.
You'd be like, all right, cool. But I agree with you, though. I didn't catch that part. I do. I think that was his male ego, where he completely broke it off with her. Especially when she said the parents were nice to him. You're right about that. Like, he should have went to the dad and said, yo, let me intern. But it was just, he couldn't do it. It's his male ego. He couldn't do it. But anyway.
Probably started thinking back to the Olive Garden. She was like, it's so nice. And
well,
he probably felt like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she was patting him on his little head.
Well, I mean, she was. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, she probably gave Olive Garden to her dogs. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, that's a lot to take. That's a lot to take. But see, I would understand. But that's a lot to take. Holy moly. So anyway, this guy's on the wrong side of the tracks, and then the parents are like, you're gonna have a really, really, really hard time with this guy. Because relatively speaking, if they came from like an upper middle class family and this guy was dirt poor, then experientially she would. You know what I mean?
And he goes on with his life, and you hear, like, he's over here, he's over there, he lost his job. That was the type of life he was creating for himself.
But then she ends up stripping, though.
That's what threw me off. I said, well, what? How did she land in that situation?
Yeah, maybe after, he took her away from all her parents and shit. They went to, like, the opposite coast. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, maybe
then they break up, and she's out there by herself, and maybe she doesn't want to go crawling back to her mom and dad.
Yeah, it could be.
You know what I mean? That's why.
Yeah, and then they would have said, I told you so. Because it didn't work out with that guy.
That's why I never have that type of relationship with any of the kids, and that's why the kids can say whatever the hell they want to me, as long as they're marginally trying to be respectful. And that's why when topics like sexuality and all that shit comes up, I don't freak out. I just keep playing my Madden, and I let them say whatever they have to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, I take a consultative role in the friend role, because I don't want, and that's why, you know, one of them is going to get hooked up with an idiot, I'm sure. 2 or 3 of them, maybe. And I'm just going to consult, but I'm not going to do this whole thing where people feel like they have to come crawling back to me. Because I was in that situation, you know what I'm saying? And I would have died before I would have done that, period. Like, you know, I remember when my mom called me out. She's like, all right, Vin, you prove your point. Come back home. And I was like, nah, chill. Because I hadn't proven my point. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's a very good song, very true to life, I think, lyrically speaking. Shout out to the big homie Bob Dylan. This song gets a 9.9 for me.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I just think it's so true to life, you know? And she's like, tell me, don't I know your name or whatever? But he's kind of like trying to avoid acknowledging that he knows her.
Yeah.
Tangled Up in Blue, I think, is like, maybe blue is like a metaphor for like the blues, or just
that's
like,
what I thought it was, being sad.
The exigencies of life, you know, like life will do that to you. And being in relationships, man, relationships are tough as hell, bro. they're very, very hard. But yeah, he meets her in the bar. You know, it's like kind of like that scene in Forrest Gump where Jenny's playing the guitar naked and shit, and Forrest goes out and takes care of her. But that is a hard thing to kind of. That would be hard to kind of see that type of. Because you got to feel responsible for it to some degree. Like you took her all the way out of there.
Yeah.
And then you guys came to some mutual agreement. It's very rare that relationships end in mutual agreement. It's like the Clippers. Like, you know, Doc Rivers, he had that 3-1 lead and then he lost the Nuggets, and then LeBron came in and destroyed the Nuggets. And then right after the Lakers beat the Nuggets, the next thing you see on ESPN, Clippers and Doc Rivers come to mutual agreement about the end of his coaching career. It's like, yeah, bro, sure, that was a mutual agreement. Yeah. So, like, anytime I hear that about a relationship, I'm like, nah, man. Like, one person is saying that to ease their conscience, and the other one's saying it to ease their pride. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's very rare that people come to this amicable. They wake up one day and look at each other and go, "Oh, this is not going to work. Let's just," you know what I'm saying? It's like, please. Yeah. Like I say all the time, relationships are extremely complicated. They're very, 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 very difficult. And there's a whole bunch of. Actually, I want to check out the comment section. See what people say here. You know, I think people are probably going to be mostly offended at it, but they're probably going to be upset. But I mean, it is what it is. But I loved the storytelling, and I loved him talking about this guy. Is like lyrically, he's a deep dude, man. He's a serious lyric writer, and he's very versatile as well. And like anytime I see a Bob Dylan thing, I always roll my eyes because I'm like, this shit is gonna get blocked. So it frustrates me. Yeah. But it double frustrates me because I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna be some crazy lyrics. So Bob Dylan is like one of these folks that I would listen to like outside of the channel. Like if somebody said, yo, let me put you on to Bob Dylan, I'd be like, alright. Because, you know, he's one of these like legendary people, and I didn't know why, but then it's like, okay. Like, I get it. Yeah. For sure. For sure. And there's so much more that could be said about this particular song.
I have one more thing. I liked this part. She opened a book of poems and handed it to me, written by an Italian poet from the 13th century. I always wish, because I don't know anything about literature, I don't even know where to start to get a book of poems that would be, like, really great. Whenever, you know, Kai... Is it Kai? Kai's the one that sends me all that stuff, right? Yeah. Whenever Kai sends me that stuff, I always enjoy every bit of that stuff that he sends. And that's like kind of like the mythical stuff. But anyway, like, but I would like some romantic and tragic poetry. Yeah. Because it can't just be romance. You have to have some tragedy poems in there too.
Well, tragedy is romantic to some people.
Yeah, true. It's very true. Anyway, so I think we already rated it, didn't we?
We did.
Well, there you have it.
There you are, dear listener. Moral of the story is work very, very hard.
Oh my gosh.
Especially
Don't let your ego get in the way.
Especially if you want to marry one of my daughters. You have to work very hard. I'm sure I've triggered a bunch of feminists. It should be great. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.